For 15 years, Elara had lived in silence, her life confined to the cold, shadowed walls of the Blackthorn Castle. She had never seen the sun rise over the mountains, never felt the wind whip through her hair, never known the warmth of a world beyond stone and secrecy. Her existence was a carefully guarded secret, hidden away by those who whispered that the outside world was dangerous, that the Alpha King himself would destroy her if he knew she existed. But secrets have a way of finding the light. One night, as the wind howled through the towers and the distant wolves cried under the silver moon, a scent entered her prison, strong, wild, impossible to ignore. It was the Alpha King, Ronan Blackmore, returning to his castle after years of battles and bloodshed. His presence was magnetic, overwhelming, and terrifying, yet it stirred something deep within her that she had never felt before. He was drawn to her scent, her hidden scent, and in that instant, Elara's carefully constructed world began to crumble. The walls that had kept her safe were no longer protection, they were chains, and for the first time, she realized that being hidden was not enough. The Alpha had found her, and once he had, nothing would ever be the same again. She was hidden in the castle for 15 years, until the Alpha King caught her scent and found her, the girl behind the stone walls. The castle had stood on the edge of the Blackthorn Mountains for centuries, ancient, cold, and breathing with secrets. Its towers pierced the misty sky like the claws of a sleeping beast, and its stone walls remembered blood oaths and forgotten names. Wolves ruled this land, and at their head stood the Alpha King. But deep within the heart of that castle, behind locked doors and sealed corridors no servant dared to enter, lived a secret even the moon had not fully seen. Her name was Elara. For 15 years she had been hidden. Elara pressed her palm against the narrow window slit, feeling the chill of the stone seep into her skin. Outside, the night howled. Wolves sang to the moon somewhere far below the towers, their voices echoing through the mountains like a promise and a threat all at once. She had never been allowed to go near them. "You are not like them," her guardian had always said. "You must never be seen. Your scent must remain hidden." So Elara learned silence before speech, shadows before sunlight, loneliness before hope. Her chambers were not a dungeon, yet they were a prison all the same, high in the West Wing, sealed by old magic and guarded by loyal servants sworn to secrecy. Soft rugs, candlelight, shelves of books, and a bed large enough to swallow her dreams. Comfort without freedom. Tonight, however, something felt different. The air vibrated, like the castle itself had drawn a sharp breath. Elara's heart began to race. Far below, iron gates thundered open. The Alpha King had returned. King Ronan Blackmore, ruler of all northern pacts, dismounted his war hearse as the castle guards bowed low. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his presence alone commanding submission. His dark hair was tied back, his jaw shadowed with stubble, eyes glowing faintly silver under the torchlight. The battlefield still clung to him, steel blood smoke, but beneath it all something else struck him. He froze mid-step. His nostrils flared. "What is that scent?" he murmured. It was not fear, not blood, not another wolf. It was warm, soft, wild in a way that made his wolf stir violently beneath his skin. Female, unclaimed, and hidden. Ronan's wolf snarled inside him, pacing, demanding. 15 years he had ruled without feeling this pull. 15 years without a mate's call. And now, inside his own castle, something had awakened. "Shale the gates," Ronan ordered sharply. The guards hesitated. "My king." "No one leaves, no one enters." His eyes lifted slowly toward the highest tower of the West Wing. The scent was coming from there. Elara staggered back from the window as a sudden wave of heat flooded her body. Her breath hitched. Her knees weakened. "He's here." She didn't know how she knew, but her soul did. For years, she had been told the Alpha King was danger. Death. a monster crowned in power, the one man who could never know she existed. Yet the moment he stepped into the castle, something ancient inside her answered him. Her wolf, silent her entire life, stirred. Alara, her guardian. Merwin rushed into the room, eyes wide with panic. You must stay away from the doors tonight. Why? Alara whispered, clutching her chest. Merwin's voice trembled. Because the Alpha King consent you now. The words shattered the fragile world Alara had known. Before she could ask more, heavy footsteps echoed faintly through the stone, slow, deliberate climbing. Coming closer. Ronan Blackmore was following her scent, and for the first time in 15 years, the girl hidden behind stone walls was about to be found. The Alpha who should not have found her. The footsteps grew louder, echoing like thunder through the narrow corridors of the West Wing. Alara pressed herself against the cold stone wall, heart hammering, every instinct screaming to flee, but there was nowhere to run. Ronan's scent was overwhelming. He was close. Every breath carried power, dominance, and something else, something magnetic and terrifying that made her pulse quicken. Her wolf, long dormant, writhed beneath her skin, whispering that this man was unlike any other she had known. Come out, a low, commanding voice called from below. It was smooth but edged with steel. I know you're there. Alara's hands trembled. She had spent her entire life in shadows, hidden from the world, and now the world's most powerful Alpha was calling her name as if it belonged to him. I can't, she whispered to herself. Ronan moved closer, his boots clicking against the stone. He didn't just walk, he glided, predator and king in perfect harmony. And with each step, the scent of her became stronger, sweeter, irresistible. You've been hidden for 15 years, he said softly, almost to himself. But your scent, it has found me anyway. Alara's breath caught. How could he know? No one could have known she existed. Not even Merwin, yet he did. Her wolf growled in warning, but her heart, her human heart, thudded wildly. Suddenly, the door to her chamber swung open with a crash. Merwin stood in the way, arms spread, but Ronan's gaze never wavered from Alara. You've been kept from the world, he said, his voice a low rumble that shook the walls, but I will not let you remain hidden any longer. Alara backed away instinctively, but the room was small and the Alpha's presence filled it completely. His eyes, silver and piercing, seemed to see into her very soul. You're my mate, he said finally, the words dropping like thunder. Alara froze. Her mind spun. The legends she had heard of the Alpha King, the mate bond, the sacred calling, it was all real. And now she was standing in its path, trembling, terrified, yet inexplicably drawn to the man who had claimed her scent. Ronan's hand reached out, not to grab, but to offer, and the air between them seemed to hum with electricity. Do not fear me, he murmured, I would never harm you, but I will claim you, and no shadow or wall will hide you from me again. Alara's wolf stirred violently, conflicting emotions crashing through her. Desire, fear, recognition. She had spent 15 years hidden from life itself, and now the strongest, most dangerous Alpha in existence was telling her she was meant to be his. A low growl escaped her throat, a mix of human fear and wolf instinct. Ronan didn't flinch. Instead, he smiled, a dangerous curve of lips that promised storms and safety all at once. Run if you dare, he said, voice like velvet over steel, but know this, I will find you. Always. And in that instant, Alara realized she could never run. Not from him. Not from what she had been made to be. The bond awakens. The night stretched long and heavy, the castle seeming to hold its breath as Ronan and Alara stood mere feet apart. The Alpha's presence was suffocating and intoxicating all at once, filling the small chamber with heat and power. Alara's chest heaved. Her wolf growled beneath her skin, claws of instinct scraping at the edges of her control. 15 years of solitude, of hiding, of silence, had left her unprepared for this, unprepared for the storm that had entered her life. You feel it too, don't you? Ronan's voice was a soft rumble, a question rather than a command. His silver eyes softened slightly, but they still burned with that primal intensity that made her knees weak. Alara's words caught in her throat. She had no language for what surged within her. It was more than fear, more than curiosity. It was an undeniable pull that rooted her to the spot. Ronan stepped closer, slow and deliberate, and the scent of him wood, smoke, and the raw power of a wolf alpha overwhelmed her senses. Her wolf howled silently, answering his call, vibrating through her veins. You are mine, he murmured, and with that simple claim, something deep and ancient within Alara stirred. The walls she had built around herself, the fear that had held her captive, began to crumble. Instinctively, she reached out. Her fingers brushed against his hand, tentative, almost afraid. The moment their skin met, a shock ran through her, electric, deep, binding. Her wolf leapt forward, recognizing the alpha, the mate, the one she had been waiting for without knowing it. Ronan's lips curved into a knowing smile. The bond, it awakens. Alara staggered back, clutching her chest as warmth spread through her. Her mind spun, memories of confinement and isolation colliding with the raw, feral power of the connection between them. She could feel his strength, his heartbeat, his wolf intertwining with hers. You've been hidden, Ronan whispered, voice low and intimate, but now you belong to me, and I will protect you. No one, no shadow, no curse, will ever take you from me. Her heart pounded. Fear battled desire, but the pull of the mate bond was undeniable. She could feel the connection searing through her, tying them together in ways her human mind could barely comprehend. Her wolf's growl softened, settling into a contented rumble. Alara's breath caught. She looked up at Ronan, and for the first time she felt safe. Not because the world was safe, but because he was here. He had found her. He had claimed her. Ronan reached out again, cupping her face with one large, commanding hand. His silver eyes held a promise, power, protection, and an intensity that could devour the stars themselves. Rest now, Alara, he said softly. Tomorrow your life begins as mine. And with that, the first spark of the mate bond flared brightly between them, a wildfire of destiny that neither time nor secrecy could extinguish. The secrets of the castle. The castle was no longer just stone and shadow to Alara. Every hallway, every torch-lit corridor now hummed with a new life, a new purpose. It had been her prison for 15 years, but under Ronan's presence, it became a labyrinth of possibilities, dangerous, intoxicating, and filled with secrets that had waited as long as she had. Ronan led her carefully down the winding staircases, his hand resting lightly on the small of her back, guiding her with authority yet restraint. Every step she took made her acutely aware of the bond between them, the heat between their souls that pulsed with an undeniable rhythm. You've been kept from everything, he murmured, voice low, reverberating in the stone hallways. Not just the world, but knowledge. Knowledge about who you are, and what you are meant to be. Alara swallowed hard. I know nothing, she admitted. Her words sounded hollow even to her own ears. The life she had lived in isolation had been carefully controlled, her mind sheltered, her instincts dulled. Ronan's gaze softened, but his grip on her back remained firm. Then we will change that, starting now. He pushed open a heavy, iron-studded door and revealed a library that stretched wall to wall with ancient tomes, scrolls, and artifacts of power. The air smelled of aged parchment and the faint tang of magic. These are the secrets of my lineage, he said, sweeping his hand over the shelves. The knowledge of the Alpha Kings, the rituals, the pacts, the covenants that keep our world in balance. And now they will become yours too. Elara's fingers hovered above the books, trembling. For the first time, the walls that had confined her body did nothing to contain her mind. She felt a spark of curiosity, a longing to know, to learn, to step into the life that had been denied to her. Ronan's voice broke her reverie. But knowledge alone is not enough. You must understand the power you carry, your scent, your presence, your blood. You are not just hidden, you are chosen. Elara's heart skipped a beat. Chosen? For what? For him? For the pack? For something greater she could not yet comprehend. Before she could ask, a low growl rolled through the chamber. Ronan's wolf surged within him, restless and impatient, resonating with her own. She realized with a shock that her wolf was no longer dormant. It had awakened fully, stretching its limbs, sniffing the air, sensing the castle and the Alpha as one. You are ready, Ronan said, his silver eyes glowing with pride and desire. But there are dangers you must face. Secrets within these walls that have been hidden longer than you. Shadows that will not take kindly to your awakening. Elara felt a thrill of fear and excitement. For 15 years, she had been a shadow herself. Now, she was stepping into a world that was both terrifying and exhilarating, one she would navigate by his side as his mate, as a force awakened. The castle walls, once her cage, now whispered promises. Promises of power, passion, and peril. And Elara, trembling but unafraid, knew that her life had irrevocably changed. She was no longer just a hidden girl. She was a key to secrets, a bearer of power, and the mate of the Alpha King. Ronan's hand tightened slightly on her back. Come. The night has more to show you. And soon, the world outside these walls will know that you exist. Elara's wolf growled softly in agreement, the thrill of discovery and the pull of destiny mingling in her veins. The castle, the Alpha, the secrets, they were hers to face now. And she would not hide any longer. The first night of fire. The moon hung low over the Blackthorn Mountains, silver light spilling across the jagged peaks and the castle's towers. From the west wing window, Elara watched it with a mixture of awe and fear. Tonight would change everything. Ronan led her to a chamber she had never seen before, a room large enough to hold a pack, with a roaring hearth, silk-draped windows, and shadows dancing across the walls like living things. The air smelled of cedar, fire, and the subtle, intoxicating scent of him. You must learn to embrace what you are, Ronan said, his voice low, smooth, commanding. Your wolf, your blood, your fire, they are not things to fear. They are part of you, part of us. Elara's fingers shook as she took a tentative step forward. Her wolf stirred beneath her skin, responding to his presence, to his words, to the undeniable pull that tethered them together. Will it hurt? She whispered, the question barely audible. Ronan's eyes softened, silver orbs reflecting the firelight. Only fear hurts, Elara. Surrender to me and to yourself and you will feel power, not pain. Slowly, deliberately, he reached for her hand. The moment their fingers touched, heat surged through her like wildfire. Her breath hitched, and the wolf inside her growled in delight, feeling the Alpha's strength mingle with her own dormant power. You are mine, he murmured, tracing her jawline with his thumb. On tonight, I claim you as mate. Elara's heart thundered. 15 years of hiding, of being told she was nothing, that her life was only to endure shadows, shattered in that single, burning declaration. The bond flared between them, fiery, intense, and alive. Her wolf howled in recognition, stretching, twisting, awakening fully for the first time. She could feel his wolf too, vast and powerful, merging with hers in a symphony of dominance, desire, and destiny. He leaned close, and the world outside the chamber disappeared. Only the fire, the shadows, the bond, and the intoxicating pull between them remained. His lips brushed hers, tentative at first, then with growing intensity. It was not just a kiss, it was a claim, a promise, a binding of their souls. Alara responded instinctively, her hands reaching for him, her body pressed to his as if they had been made to fit together. The heat of their connection burned through her fear, her doubt, her years of isolation. "Do you feel it?" Ronan's voice rumbled against her ear. "The bond, it's alive. Stronger than anything I have ever known. You are mine, Alara, and I am yours." Tears pricked her eyes, not of sadness but of release. For the first time she belonged. Not to shadows, not to fear, not to a life hidden in stone. She belonged to him, to her wolf, to the fire that surged through them both. The night outside raged with wind and silver light, but inside the chamber, fire roared, wolves howled in distant mountains, and two souls found each other in a bond that would never break. And as Ronan held her close, whispering promises of protection, power, and passion, Alara knew this was only the beginning. The castle, the mountains, the world, they would never forget the night the hidden girl became the Alpha King's mate. The shadows of the past, the morning light filtered through the tall windows, casting silver and gold across the chamber. Alara woke tangled in silk sheets, the heat of the night still lingering in her veins. The bond with Ronan pulsed gently, a constant reminder of their connection, but a whisper of unease tugged at her mind. She had been hidden for 15 years. Secrets could not remain buried forever. Ronan stirred beside her, his body still radiating heat and power even in rest. His silver eyes opened, locking onto hers with an intensity that made her shiver. "Sleep well?" he asked softly, though his presence demanded more than words. Alara swallowed. Yes, but there are things you don't know about me." Her voice was quiet, almost hesitant. He tilted his head, curiosity and concern mingling in his gaze. "Then tell me." Her hands trembled as she recounted fragments of her life, how she had been hidden, how Merwin had raised her under strict instructions, how the outside world had been a myth she had never touched. Each word seemed to weigh heavily in the air, as though the castle itself listened. Ronan listened silently, his jaw tight, his wolf stirring at each revelation. "They kept you hidden to protect or control," he murmured finally, voice dark with restrained anger. "Alara doesn't belong to them." His wolf seemed to growl through him, a warning to the unseen enemies that had shaped her past. "She belongs to me. No shadow from the past will touch her again." Alara felt the bond tighten, wrapping them in a protective pulse of power. She felt safe, yet fragile, as though stepping into the light of his presence had awakened both strength and vulnerability she had never known. "Ronan, there are things hidden even within this castle," she whispered, fear mingling with curiosity. "Rooms, passages, secrets. I've heard whispers from Merwin about rituals, enemies, and powers I don't understand." He rose, the air around him shimmering with dominance and energy. "Then we will uncover them, together. No shadow from your past or mine will remain unchallenged." Their wolf senses flared simultaneously, alerting them to an undercurrent of movement, something ancient, something patient, lurking in the corridors of the castle. The hidden girl's awakening had not gone unnoticed. Ronan moved to her side, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Alara," he said, his voice firm but gentle, "you will learn who you are, and what power we share. But you will not face it alone. I am yours as you are mine. And nothing, no shadow, no enemy will take that from us." A chill passed through the chamber, the sunlight outside unable to reach the corners where secrets waited. Alara's wolf growled softly, her instincts telling her that the past was not yet done with her. Yet as she looked into Ronan's eyes, the fear that had gripped her for 15 years began to dissolve. With him, she could face anything. With him, she could awaken fully, not just as a hidden girl, but as a mate, a wolf, and a force no darkness could contain. The shadows of the past stirred, but the fire of their bond blazed brighter, and in the heart of the castle, The Alpha King and the Hidden Girl prepared for the storm that was coming.